Hello and welcome, everyone. We're excited to be here this afternoon for the first of the Emory Alumni Association's Entrepreneur Network's Virtual Learning Series. So we have Aditya Rao here. He is the president of the Emory Entrepreneur Network, and he himself is an entrepreneur dabbling in many different industries throughout the entrepreneurial space. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and I will pass it off to Aditya.
Thank you, Lindsay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. As Lindsay said, this is our first session as part of the EEN's Virtual Learning Series. And I'll introduce our chief guest and speaker today, Dr. Rajiv Garg, in a minute. But the idea behind this series is to provide entrepreneurs with tools, learning that would help in your day-to-day business. We know a lot of entrepreneurs are working solo or building their teams right now. So trying to figure out what would help entrepreneurs accelerate their business growth. So as Lindsay said, I'm the president of the Goizueta, the Emory Entrepreneur Network, and 2008 grad from the full-time program at the Goizueta Business School. With that, I'd love to introduce our speaker today. So we have Professor Rajiv Garg from the Goizueta Business School. He is an associate professor of information systems and operations management. Professor Garg's research goes deep into digital platforms and technologies and how they apply to social, mobile commerce, labor markets, entrepreneurship. And furthermore, he is one of the nation's leading professors on AI, which brings us to today's topic. Now, I'm sure many of you have already tried it. I, as an entrepreneur myself, I've had so many false starts with AI. I've tried it, decided it doesn't work, given up, tried it again, decided it doesn't work, until much later when I realized it wasn't AI, it was me. So I'm still learning how to interact with it. So when Dr. Garg agreed to facilitate this session for the EN, I was super, super excited. And then Lindsay and I spoke with Dr. Garg last week and about what he's going to talk about today. And I'm even more excited if that's possible. So without that, I'd like to hand it over to today's speaker, Dr. Rajiv Garg. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya. I mean, the pressure is on, right? Thank you, and welcome everyone. So I want to keep it a little bit more casual. So you're welcome to ask questions. Like I'll take pauses in between where we can engage in discussions. Any questions you have. There are so many tools out there that makes our life easier, right? We want to create a startup today. It's very much feasible to do this quickly at a very low cost. The tools that are available, so there are many that I myself am not aware of, but I'm going to try to give you sort of an overview of some of the tools and how they can help in our daily lives as entrepreneurs. One of the things, I'm a failed entrepreneur. Like I had three companies in the past, and I wasn't very successful in the sense that I am not a risk taker. One of my first product was a home automation and security system where we could control the lighting of the home, monitor the cameras in the home, and all of that stuff. We started that company and built the software for it in 2001. We sold that company for $10,000, right? So that tells I'm not the best person to be an entrepreneur, but I am. I love exploring new ideas, new technologies, and so forth. The first thing I want to do before we even begin is I want to understand your pain points. So as I see the responses, I'm going to try to incorporate to address some or as many of those as possible during the session, right? So if you can take a few minutes, I mean, maybe on your phone, scan the QR code, go to the link, and fill in any of your pain points. We'll take 30 seconds here to get the answers. So doing 2 jobs, social media marketing, visibility, brand building, time, definitely. Customer inquiries, CRM. Where to begin, generating capital, finding the right platforms, tools out there, storytelling. Knowing when to quit your first job to pursue entrepreneurship. That's a great question. And unfortunately, that's one question I won't be covering here. I mean, my thought is the way I work, but again, that's what I'm saying. I'm a failed entrepreneur. My thought was if my startup will give me more money than my full-time job, I'll quit. But that never happens in that short time that I tested out.
Dr. Garg, I think there's a request for sharing your word cloud results if you have them.
The sharing word
The
cloud. Oh,
yeah, the
sorry. Yeah,
Menti
it's not.
results.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, my bad. So, but people are not able to see this then? Like this is only, I guess, my bad.
Yeah, they can see your we can see your presentation, your slide, and the QR code, which was needed for us to scan it. But
No, but when you write the answer, are you not able to see everybody's responses?
no,
No?
it was not showing that. No.
Okay. Is it showing now?
Yeah, it's showing, and there's some again those little things,
Oh, the
your
Zoom
menu's blocking
boxes.
it.
Yes.
I don't know why it does that, but
Yes,
technology, you gotta love it.
yes. All right, I'm gonna pause here so to continue for sake of time. I'm gonna have one more this Menti thing in a bit. But the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because um, these are some of the things, the questions that you're posting, the pain points. I will cover some of those during this presentation. There are some that I won't, but in case, and then there are some where we can possibly discuss as we move forward. Okay. So the current startup landscape, like if you have played around, I mean, recently with technology, looked at some of the statistics, I mean, TechCrunch and Statista, the cost of bringing a product to market has dropped by 90%, like, which is a significant reduction in the need for assets, the funds to create your product. And the speed has increased by about the same time. So now we're spending very little money, only 10% of the money needed 20 years ago, and only 10% of the in only 10% of the time to release a product to the market, right? So this has changed the entire landscape of the startup, requiring us to sort of build lean startups. I mean, like we all mentioned, like you all mentioned during the Mentimeter, the biggest thing is that every startup needs is the money, talent, and time, right? We need time to build products. We need time to evaluate the product fit. We need time to do the marketing, brand building, etc. We need the money to build tools, the products that we want, the services to engage with customers. We need talent. I mean, we might want to, as an entrepreneur, have to put on multiple hats from finance to operations to customer support to product development. But we sometimes, as we grow, we need the talent to help us do those things as well, right? But if you think about I mean, these three needs, I mean, there is an explosion, like the money part, the tools are becoming cheaper and cheaper. I mean, there are AI systems that are literally free for use that you can utilize to build things, to do things for your work. The average cost of launching a startup is about $3,000. That is a significant lower than about 10, 15 years ago when I wrote a paper on entrepreneurship where the average cost of creating a startup was about $50,000. That was also a significant reduction from the 10 years before, right? Back then, the idea was to generate a Twitter-like app would cost about $100,000 to build the entire app that has the Twitter-like database, the interface, and everything. The same app you can build, like for now X, in terms of the technology infrastructure, will cost you about 3,000. So that's a significant reduction in the amount needed to build these platforms, these tools. 2% of the business-to-business startups reported launching MVP successfully, um, and with the modern development approaches, right? Much faster. In terms of talent, remote work has shattered geographic boundaries. We can hire people in Europe, we can hire people in China, we can hire people in Africa, we can hire people in India, like literally everywhere the talent is available for us. Now, in addition to finding the talent that we need for a product, for a startup, by adding these people from all over the world, we bring in diverse perspectives to sort of critically analyze and develop the tools and services for a global audience as well. Time, I mean, speed is the new mode. Like, because the way the startups ecosystem is changing, the way and the speed at which people can create startups, the speed is the necessity right now. The best startup advantage is execution speed. You need to find time, right? If you are allocating time like this, getting distracted from the startup, there is a very high chance somebody will come in, create the same startup much faster, and actually take a larger market share. Startups can launch MVPs in days, not months, right? You want to start a new product, launch a new service, you can do that within days with the help of AI. So AI is the ultimate multiplier for literally anything, any process that we have. And AI is the ultimate multiplier because of the emergence of the LLMs. I mean, we all are seeing, like Aditya was saying, like using tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot. I mean, these are basic LLMs, but they were, because of their accessibility, because of how easily they could be integrated into different products and services as well for creating the startup, they have made it much more easier, sped up the time it takes for us as an entrepreneur to do things much faster at lower cost. Tasks that seem firmly in human domain, like writing emails, summarizing reports, answering questions, are being done with AI with surprising competence. So there's a shift from experimental to mainstream use of these LLMs, these AI systems. 72% of companies worldwide have adopted AI. I mean, I'm not just talking about startups, I'm talking about literally all of the companies globally, right? In at least one of their business functions, they have used AI, which is up from 55% just 2 years ago, right? So if you look at the different areas where generative AI is being used, I mean, specifically for the startup system, enhances customer experience, drive innovation, reduce cost, increase business agility, reduce time to market, grow market share. Like all of those are things that we all need. The pain points that a lot of you mentioned during the first slide as well. So we need these AI, we need the digital workforce powered by AI. AI isn't a tool, it's a digital teammate, right? AI can perform various business tasks, like Jasper, Zapier, Copilot. There are all these different tools available. Taking an example, Do Not Play provides an AI legal assistant which automates legal paperwork and dispute resolution. I mean, parking tickets, refunds, or any like even filing your company's corporate LLC documentation. Saved users over $16 million in legal fee with AI-generated filings, right? Much powerful. Jasper is a marketing assistant, and companies like Mongoose Media use Jasper for generating client content, branding material, campaign copy. I mean, the scale content production is 5 times the speed as before and save 30 plus hours per week per marketer, right? That's essentially saying any marketing person you were hiring, their demand for their time dropped by 75%. That's a significant change. Now, in my own research, I have shown that the AI generated marketing and advertising for social media is very successful, and it's actually better than the content created by human agents, human marketers. The downside, though, is that it works for certain demographics. So this is for your context, for your business. You can actually explore what demographic is generative AI working for you, whereas where you need the human marketing agents as well. Synthesia, Hagen provide AI video production. I mean, there are platforms that will create the viral content, the YouTube videos, the promo videos for you with just a prompt, right? So as a result, you're able to create effective studio quality content for your customers, for your brand building, for your marketing very, very quickly at almost no cost. Now, if you think about the customer support, in 2023, the AI-powered bots support human customer service representative by synthesizing large data sets. So previous call records, messages, online support forms. We used to do NLP to understand what customer is asking, what people have asked in the past, how we have responded. We will use the same thing to respond. We will communicate with these human customers to understand, classify their queries, provide information, with available data sets, right? So if you have interacted with the customer service agents over the chat bots, like you will see a lot of times they will ask you to describe a problem. Then they will verify, are you talking about this product return or talking about these? A lot of these are agents, these AI-powered bots. In 2025, today, we converse with customers to provide information and take actions. So if a customer suggests that, look, I'm not happy with this product came with maybe a part missing, the system should be able to understand and take action. The taking action is replace the product. The bots did not have the authority. The bots transferred the request, the call to a human agent, but now AI-powered agents can actually take the action because it interfaces with the systems to update database, to place new orders, to process a return, and initiate tickets, process payments, etc. These are called agents. An AI agent is a software program that acts autonomously to understand, plan, execute specific goals. It's powered by LLM to enable intermediate insights and decisions, and it tracks with the systems and environment to take actions. Aditya, question?
Yeah, Dr. Garg, there's a question from Mark Travis, and he was asking, I know you brought up the tool about with the legal one, do not pay. And I think it's related to that. He said, how can I get my trademark filed without using a law firm? Can AI help? Any thoughts on that?
So, yes. So to be honest, I haven't done the trademark filing personally, so I don't know what all it takes, but there is a lot of trademark filing data online. So as a result, literally any LLM, the do not pay or even ChatGPTs will help you fill in the forms or provide essentially all of the content that is needed that will go in the form. The the deep research will also help because they have access to all the patent database, the past trademark database, to see if your trademark is likely to be approved or not. Now, keep in mind, most of the data that they use is still dated. So the companies like Do Not Pay, they invest time and money to get the most recent databases. But the LLMs that are generally available, the foundation models, they don't have the most recent data. So as a result, they may tell you your trademark is likely to be approved, but somebody may have gotten it the last month and you just don't know it. But they will.
Dr. Garg, you brought up a point there about deep research, and I don't know if everyone knows what that means. Do you want to just give like a one sentence on what that is?
Yes. So I'll step back a little bit to talk about what an LLM is first. So a large language model is essentially a collection or a network of words. So if we were to take the entire content, the text content from all over the world, I'm just keeping it simple for text content. Every word is followed by some other word. There is a pattern in the content. But when I say the word light, the next word could be bulb, light could be speed, Light could be weight. So there could be a lot of different possible outcomes. So you can essentially create a graph of every possible combination of these words. So if you look at the entire world's internet data, you can create this massive network of words, right? The problem here is that because I'm looking at this massive data, I'm creating this massive network or graph of words, it takes time. So essentially, I take a snapshot of all the data that is available, say now, it will take me time to create this massive network of word, like which is training the LLMs. And so as a result, when I create these models, it's created with the data now, but these models are being used 6 months, a year after they're being released. So now what happens is our data is getting old. Our deep research will essentially say, look, I want to use the LLMs to generate the text, but I want to find everything that is currently available in the market. So they utilize the search engines. Search is essentially finding the new content from all over the web, even the old ones and the new ones. So deep research, so you essentially ask a prompt, say, I want to do a research on filing this trademark for, so sort of for this brand name or tagline or this product, right? And it will find all the patents, it'll find all the trademark records, etc., in the deep research, and will say, look, does your question relate to any of these that are existing filed, right? And we'll say, okay, I found these that are more relevant. Does this help answer the question you pose? How do I file it and whether I'll be approved or not? The reasoning agent will then say, look, I think this, of all these that I found to be relevant, I don't think, these 50% are very much relevant, and I'm going to focus on these remaining 50%. I'm going to find more information on these remaining 50%. So what happens is I found some information, I take part of that information, I'm going to search now again the web with these 50% trademark and the information that I found. I'm going to find even more information that is relevant. I'm going to give everything to the LLM and say, look, I have all this context, all these different content from the past. I want you to make sense of this and help me write the trademark application and tell me whether this will be approved or not. Right. That's sort of the quick overview.
Thank you. And actually related to that, there's a question from Pankaj Keshwani about, so he says, for content created through AI platforms, how do we check for copyright violations or potential plagiarism? And this is something I think which is applicable to a lot of entrepreneurs about when we are using the tool.
Yeah, so that is a very good question. And so for the content writing, a lot of the tools, like even Grammarly, will help you check whether this content was AI generated, whether the content came from somewhere. So there are plagiarism tools that are available where you can just dump the text. If you were to search on Google, I personally use Grammarly, so I'm saying Grammarly, but it will tell you whether the content, what percentage of content came from AI, from the web, or other sources as well.
Thank
All
you.
right, so coming back to the agents. Now, LLMs, we think, so we have the large language models. Now we created bots, which is the 2023 customer support agent, or a bot, which essentially looks at the historical data at the firm, understands the rules, the classification of customer requests, and provides the information to the customer. They don't take action. They essentially were interacting with the human agents to provide action. Whereas the AI agents are essentially helping answer the questions as well as taking action. So essentially an AI agent is the LLMs plus the software bot. So if we think about the characteristics of the agent, so they're autonomous, they have a goal-oriented behavior, they're essentially learning what is it that the customer wants or the user wants, and I'm going to provide the actions and answers to achieve those goals, right? So in the context of, say, for example, creating the trademark, they are contextually aware. So they understand the context and environment. So when you're asking a question, say for trademark for human resources or human analytics firm, they know the context. They know what people have done in that domain, right? So the context awareness is crucial. They over time learn as you keep asking questions. It creates a database, usually manages database to understand what you have asked in the past and basically where you're headed. So essentially getting insights from your previous questions and answers as well. And they have interactivity and collaboration, so they can work with tools other than AI or human agents. So so when I said search, like searching the patent database, searching the trademark database, right? They can connect to those databases, search, and then again use the LLMs to generate an answer. So AI agent is autonomous, goal-driven, contextually aware learning and interactive program that leverages tools. If you were to look at the visual, like how it works, so an AI agent at the center is essentially taking a query, which is essentially looking at the prompt that the user gave and plans the query. So in a planning part, I'm going to do reflection. I'm going to do self-criticism of what the answers I found. I'm going to go through a chain of thought. Like every time somebody's asking a question, I'm going to get an answer. I'm going to ask myself whether this answer is right or not, and I'm going to divide the entire prompt into sub goals, right? This is where I'm essentially breaking down my prompt. Then I look at my memory and say, look, have I answered this in the past? What other information do I have in my short-term or long-term memory around this sort of a prompt? I then look at the different tools, like I look at my calendars, I can look at the online databases, I can do search. I mean, literally, there are thousands of tools available to connect to an AI agent, right? So once I know from memory what I need to do, I have analyzed the prompt, I can then take action. So that's sort of in a bottle, like in a nutshell, what an AI agent looks like. By 2028, 33% of enterprise software applications will include agentic AI, up from 1% just last year, right? This is a significant change. AI agent machine customers will replace 20% of the interactions at human readable digital storefronts. So what this means is right now we are say doing searches on Google, but in future, our agents will do those searches on Google. So 1/5 of the traffic on these platforms will be done by software agents or AI agents that will get the information for us, process the information, and then help us take actions. At least 15% of day-to-day work decisions will be made by agents as well, up from 0% last year, because they have the power to make agents. The decision that LLMs provide when they have memory are becoming more and more effective. So with the reasoning models, literally every large company, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, OpenAI, they all have a reasoning model. The reasoning model's point is that the decision you're making is more effective. It reasons with the first output to get to the most optimal, most trustworthy, most reliable output for you. So, I mean, if we think about capabilities, human agents bring common sense, whereas AI agents excel at speed and scale. Human agents can use judgment and ethical considerations. AI agents follow learned patterns and make decisions based on data and algorithms, so they're actually more consistent and fast. Human agents learn from a handful of experiences. I mean, called gut feeling. I mean, any employee we have, they're learning over time and they're making decisions based on those experiences. AI agents often need thousands of examples to learn from. Like this is where they use a lot of the internet data. Humans can build trust with each other, whereas trusting AI agent is not easy. I mean, think about maybe will you accept an apology from an AI agent? So a lot of times we need the human plus AI agents because they do better than just pure humans or pure AI in our organization. Right. Now, from agents, if we take multiple of these agents, we put them in a team. Essentially, when I say team, you could have an AI agent, which is a CEO, an agent that does the job of a CTO, an agent that does the job of a programmer, the agent that does the job of a code reviewer, etc. We put all of those agents and say, look, you define what problem I need to solve. You break the problem down into different modules for the software that you need to develop. You do the coding part, you test the code, right? All of these things, when they go in a flow, this is called an agentic workflow. So even today, if you want to design any software, there are hundreds of tools available online that you can use. You can just say, I want to build the next Twitter app and help me create the app. The AI agent will literally, it'll cost you about $10 to create the software for the entire Twitter app, right? Which is amazing and scary at the same time. So that's agentic workflow. Now, think about, in an agentic workflow, if we want to recruit people and build an agentic workflow that recruits people, that posts a job, analyzes resume, screens the candidate, schedules the interview, does the interview as well. Like it can actually do the interviews for us online, real time, then evaluates the interview and the resume, and then recommends 2 or 3 candidates for us to evaluate, right? That makes our life so much easier because any job that is posted online gets hundreds of resumes literally every day. And so as a result, these agents can help manage and evaluate the candidates for us very effectively. So this is where I want to take a minute and I want to show you this sort of an agent on Zapier. It's a relatively simple agent. And there are 2 that I'm going to show, that I have created. So Zapier, if you can see my screen, has a lot of different templates for agents. I created 2 here. One is a lead generator, which essentially searches the web for any new press release by a company in an industry, by all companies in industry on a given day, right? So the purpose of this lead generator agent is essentially to keep every day search the web for any new product releases, product announcements. Then it essentially finds the relevant information, the contact information, the web page, the article, etc., puts everything in a Google Sheet. From the Google Sheet, I can essentially read the email. I can potentially contact the contact person automatically using my other agent that takes the data from a sheet, any new data from a sheet, and then sends email with essentially promoting my product or services, etc., for that organization. So talking about the lead generation research, the instruction. Now, this is a LLM-powered agent. So I provided instruction. The objective is every morning, conduct detailed search for technology-related companies that release press release or newswire the previous day. Track, document, and document all press release, right? Identified goal, identify the document as many relevant companies and press release possible. Actions, again, so you can see the architecture as the AI agent that I talked about. Action, data collection requirements, spreadsheet. I want to provide the structure in the spreadsheet, column A, date of release, press release title, press release link, etc. Right? Additional notes, if email is not available, leave it blank. So these are all the assumptions, etc., that I can provide. Process steps, search the release, extract required information, locate company website, add information to spreadsheet, verify correct information, and then quality assurance. So I can create as many of these sections and tasks for the agent that I want. What then the system does, it takes the entire prompt that I've created, connects to all the different tools, right? I have connected to a Google search, visiting websites, and Google Sheets. But there are 7,000 different apps available on Zapier that you can connect to. You want to connect to a MySQL database, you want to connect to an email, like whatever you want application to connect to, you can connect those here. So the LLM then reads this entire prompt, breaks it down as we discussed in the architecture. What are my tools? What are my What is my memory, like the short-term, long-term memory? How do I break down the prompt into like the sub task as well? Like, and then how do I review it, manage the quality, etc. Right? Once it's done, then it starts executing. And this is where you can see on the right side, it started executing. Like it searched the data, added the information to the Google Sheet, right? And I focused on the AI within the tech industry because more like as this smaller sample size. And the result it gave me is this here. So I ran this agent twice on April 29th and today. And for today, it basically from the press release, it found these 4 entries. Ernst Young, Bayer, StratVision, and AI Breakthrough, right? So these 4 companies. Unfortunately, there was no email addresses associated here, so it did not fill in any of the email addresses. So the AI agent is able, you can create with just the prompts here, the entire agent, which uses the LLM to break it down into different tasks and sets. Yes, Aditya.
So, Dr. Curry, just a clarification on this. So on the left is what are the instructions that you gave it, and the tools are the ones that you connected. And then you
Correct.
said run, and it
Yes.
runs every day, and now and it keeps filling up
Correct.
or completing those sheets on the right.
Absolutely. That is
okay?
correct.
Thank you.
Right?
There's another question, but I think it's a more general question, so we'll come back to it at the end. Raheem.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go back to my slides now. So I'm going to focus on the 4 different areas, which I mean, essentially a lot of you talked about during the pain points. The first is brand building. Can AI build your brand voice? And the answer is yes, right? So AI generated logos, taglines, tone of voice. I mean, we can do those using a lot of different tools, ChatGPT, Luca, Canva, Magic, etc. Right? Mongoose Media used Jasper. So Jasper is another very popular one to completely overhaul their brand identity. They saved 30 hours per week on content creation, scaled client deliverables 5 times faster, and aligned their brand measuring more consistently, messaging more consistently across different social media platforms. Right. So if you were to use these platforms like Jasper, you can say, this is my company's sort of the image that I want to create. This is the kind of personality I want to have for my brand. I want you to create these sort of the guidelines and sort of the content for various social media and online platforms, even the blog posts, etc., every single day. It does it for you, right? I wanted to show another example, but rather than actually doing it, I mean, I had the prompt in here. So I wanted to create a brand for an eco-friendly dog toy company for Gen Z pet parents, right? I asked ChatGPT in this case to create the sort of the brand guidelines. The prompt is what you see on the top left. So you're a branding expert. This is essentially called a domain anchorage, right? The domain anchorage is necessary because, like I said, the LLM is a massive graph of words. I want to figure out where the LLM should look at, focus on for the collection of words that it want to use for providing an output. So that's where I first have the domain anchorage, your branding expert and creative director helping a new startup build a cohesive brand identity. The company idea is an eco-friendly dog toy company for Gen Z pet parent. So then I asked it, please generate the following: a short and memorable brand name, catchy tagline, brand personality, short brand story, sample Instagram bio, 1-2 visual brand concepts, etc. And this is what I gave it to ChatGPT, and it did everything. I mean, the Bark Kind is the brand name, a blend of bark dogs and kind, compassion, ethics, and inclusivity. It's short, playful, feel socially conscious, perfect for Gen Z values. Right. So you can see it connects the need, the customer base with the product that you are trying to create. So in the prompting, like you need to provide the domain, you need to provide the list of tasks it needs to complete, and you need to consider multi-shot prompting. So if you're not aware of the multi-shot prompting, so anytime we ask just a question and get an answer, it's called a zero-shot prompting. Zero shot is essentially you just asked a question, you got an answer without any additional context or an example for ChatGPT. But when you say a single shot prompting, you provide the question, but then give an example response. What is it that you are looking for? So in this say Barkind, like I could have said, like create this brand information. For example, if Petco has sort of this brand image and I provide that text, then it essentially anchors the responses around that Petco to output example, and then provides a more relevant example that is more similar and that I mean to the example provided. So consider the multi-shot prompting for more accurate results. You can use chain of thought. So when essentially to revise, so you have question, you got an answer, you ask a follow-up question. So it's like you're debating, you are essentially doing a brainstorming session with your peer, with your advisor. So until you arrive at a consensus, you do the same thing with ChatGPT or all these LLMs because they have a short-term memory which they use to essentially arrive at the relevant answer. All right. So remember, LLMs are just a network of words from massive internet data. The more narrow you narrow it down to a specific domain and context, the better the results will become. Yes, Aditya.
Dr. Garg, there's one question related to this topic, and this is Lindsay who said, can you upload your own video and photos into one of these platforms to create branding content for social media posts as opposed to canned images?
Absolutely. Yes, you can. So you can, so most of these LLMs, they essentially use feature extraction and deep learning. So they will take your own images and content as well that you can upload to them. Now, I want to be a little careful. Sort of a disclaimer. Avoid any sensitive pictures that you're worried about leaking. So in one of my other research papers, I have shown that the platforms like ChatGPTs, there is a potential of leakage of data. So, I'm not saying that, if you put a picture, somebody will be able to see it. But what I'm saying is, if you were to upload a picture to get some insight and some content around that image, that output could be discovered by somebody else on using the ChatGPT somewhere else. Like it depends on how they are providing the prompt. That contextualization, the domain anchorage, is something, if it's consistent for other people on the web, they can get a similar output as yours, right? So if you were trying to explain an image and it had some features, somebody else is using a very similar features of the image, right? They will get the same answer as you. So you're essentially going to have two of the identical potential outputs.
And Dr. Garg, that actually ties back to another question that Mark Travis had. He said, I'm still very nervous about interacting with LLMs or anything that borders on IP I'm creating. And I think that is a discussion, there are options to say, don't use my data for training, but does that still, do competitors get that information? Is that leaked? What would you recommend there?
So my suggestion would be, so if you have an enterprise account, the enterprise account is usually more expensive, but they will keep your data within your organization. So there's a concept of in-context learning, right? So what these LLMs do is, as you're asking questions, you're providing anchorage and stuff to speed up the process of responding. They learn, they have a short-term memory, right? So when they have a short-term memory, whatever you are asking, somebody else is asking, they're utilizing that memory, that in context learning, to provide the answers more quickly to the others. One alternative approach, if you don't care about your memory, like the ChatGPT account having all your data, so it keeps essentially the long-term memory for you, right? And provide personalized responses, you can go incognito, right? So ChatGPT also has this sort of a temporary chat feature where your data is stored for only 30 days. right? So for 30 days, your data is with them, that is held, but after that, it is disappeared. So it does not contribute to somebody else's learning or prompting as well. So unless enterprise account, if you're worried, still a 30-day period where you can use temporary chat. But if you use the regular chat, the chat GPT knows more about you. It'll personalize responses for you, but there is a chance of leaking the output, not the input. What you're sharing, the company is correct that they're not using the input to train their models. So that is still safe. But the output you're generating could leak as a result.
So if there is some information that translates into the output, because there's a question there from Jennifer Eichler, who says, is it wise to assume that everything you use for prompts and results could at some point become public?
No. So I'm not saying that. Now, again, if there is a data breach or leak happen, then it can, but your prompts are not becoming public. The outputs could be discovered by others who prompt it the same way, right? So if there were, so suppose, ChatGPT knows, say you are an entrepreneur working in supply chain sort of a domain, and you are trying to create a new product or a service which has certain features. The way you ask the question, and it gave you an idea, this is an idea that you can pursue to optimize your supply chain, sort of an interface. Somebody else also says, I'm an entrepreneur working in supply chain industry, and I want to optimize. If I were to optimize my sort of the interfaces, what would you suggest? It will give the same answer you found here to that customer as well, right?
Okay.
So that output could be leaked, assuming they are asking the same question.
Same
Now,
question.
yeah. So the example I take is, suppose I ask ChatGPT to create my exam questions for my course, and my student goes in and says, suppose I am Professor Rajiv Garg, who teaches big data management at a business school. And it doesn't even use my name. It can, but it can say, look, I'm a professor at a business school teaching big data, and help me create the exam question. The questions I created now could be visible to the student as well, right? So they know the question paper without even like, so that is the leakage that I'm saying can happen. So be just mindful of that. Companies are doing their best to limit that as well. And the government regulation, the policies are also coming in, so we limit the potential leakage of data as well. But at the present time, based on my research, the outputs can leak.
Dr. Garg, just before you switch to the next topic, I know we talked about a potential agent process that you had for hiring that would speed up hiring. Is that one you're going to talk about today, or is that something we can share later on?
Yeah, so the hiring part I skipped. So I had two agents on Zapier. One was for resume evaluation. You dump in like 20 resumes, it'll help you figure out. I wasn't scheduling interviews, but I'm going to show more agents and more applications as well. But I have only 7 minutes left.
Yes, I know, I understand. So let's continue. It was a question from Zahir, so I just wanted to see if you were. I know we had talked about it briefly, but I'll shut up.
Okay, no, it's okay. I enjoy the questions, but I'm gonna focus on some interesting things. Like, so for CRM and customer support, 80% of the routine tasks will now be handled by AI. Maestro Lab shows solopreneur teams can use Gmail plus AI assistants to auto summarize email, generate replies automatically in their brand voice, and automate follow-up using GPT-powered agents, right? So you can build an agent that keeps looking at your email box and responds with your brand voice automatically. And until there is an issue, they will keep working automatically for you as your assistant, until you stop it, right? Here is a short video of.
We're going to be.
It's a computer use. What this does is, you essentially want to fill out a vendor request form for a company using data from their spreadsheet. So you essentially have a spreadsheet with the bunch of vendor information, and you have to fill this information out on some form, right? Now, previously, you would write a bot, a software program to automate this thing. The computer use, the video which is shown here, is you essentially tell ChatGPT-like interface, which is Claude in this case, what you want to do, right? The prompt here, what you want to do. And then you give control of your computer to Claude. And then Claude will essentially look at all the applications on your computer and will do the task for you. So in this case, it's going to basically copy paste content from
and the vendor form. It swaps over to a CRM and searches for the company we're interested in. Then starts scrolling through the page, looking for all the information it needs to fill out this form. Claude then autonomously starts transferring the information across without me having to do anything.
So the point here is human is not doing anything. Everything is the LLM is looking at the screenshot of your entire computer screen, sees what it's seeing on, say, the page where or the Excel sheet, right? Finding the information based on what words are mentioned there, and then filling the relevant information on the form on the right side, right, for the vendor request. So the computer use essentially building an agent for whatever task you want, but you're giving control of your computer, your applications to the AI.
We're going to
right? AI can help you with the product innovation as well. Like so Figma for UI, GPT for code, Bubble to create the minimum viable product. I'm like, or you can do very frequent quick testing as well. Lemonade, a test-driven insurance company, uses tool to reduce product development cycle by 40%. Right? And they're doing it because they're using the help of AI to keep getting feedback to innovate their products as well over time. I wanted to take this example very quickly. In this case, so I wanted to create the front end, the user interface for a new mobile app. Suppose my startup wants to create, right? I first went to ChatGPT and said, look, design an app to match mentors and students based on their shared preferred communication styles and availability, right? And I asked ChatGPT to generate app name, description, et cetera, et cetera. So all of that information. ChatGPT gave me some answers on what the app would look like, right? Or what the features of the app would be, all textual. I took all of that content, the prompt, and then I copy pasted this into Stitch by Google, right? And actually, I'm not going to show, but like you can try out Stitch. You copy pasted those features and Google creates the front end, which is what you see on the left side on the screen, where it shows the student names, maybe the job titles they're working somewhere, or the mentor names and their job titles, and then essentially the chat interface, the user profile icon, etc. This is completely rendered by UI, right? Same thing with finance and operations. Companies are using, for financial analytics, different AI systems. And there's a custom GPT by ChatGPT that you can use for essentially forecasting. You provide the input data, it will generate the forecast or responses for you, sort of monthly forecast for you for the entire next 12 months. My students build a very similar, like a data science agent where they get any request via email. So suppose think about you have a data scientist in-house, you send them an email, here's the data, do machine learning and do this visualization, create this report. You send all of those things in an email. It goes to an LLM that breaks it down into different tasks, writes code, runs code, creates a report, and sends the result back to the user, right? So this is a virtual or AI data scientist that you could potentially have within your organization. Integrating and scaling, again, computer use where you want to schedule a meeting with a certain individual, you want to find time on your calendar, you want to find location for your meeting, everything could be done automatically by your computer use agent by Anthropic, right? So I'm not going to go over the video, but there is a link on the slide for the video as well as the details on how to create it.
I'll ask Claude.
So I'm going to skip this Mentimeter for now, but do think about what would you like an agent to do for you, right? So I mean, you've seen so many tools, you've seen some ideas, maybe some new, some not, but think about what you would like to build as an AI agent and what you would like to do. Now, there's going to be some learning if this is the first time. You may run into challenges, but ask questions, right? I mean, and asking questions, you can even do that from a chat GPT or an LLM as well. You ask them, I'm running into this issue, tell me how to fix it. And they will tell you, right? What AI won't do, it won't do much creativity, empathy. I mean, the creativity, empathy, and vision still matters. AI is a multiplier, not a replacement. Start small, build fast, use AI where time is essential. Hallucination, ethics, data sensitivity are still important consideration. This is where contextualization, RAG-based systems is important. Keep humans in the loop. And autonomous startups with lean teams plus AI agents is the future. AI agents will amplify and accelerate your tasks. So key takeaways, AI isn't here to take the job. It's your first employee. Execution speed is the new moat. AI gives you wheels. You don't need a dev team to act like one. You already have AI developers. Your inbox, CRM, and product roadmap can all think. Just prompt them, right? Everywhere you just ask questions to LLM. Start small, start today, and let your digital teammates scale with you. Thank you. 1 minute over.
Dr. Garg, thank you so much for the time and for this fascinating discussion and presentation. I know there are a lot of tools that you had there. I'm assuming we can share the slides with everyone because there's a lot of useful tools and links there that we can go and explore more. And I think to recap what you said is you just have to go try it, ask questions, keep asking questions, don't give up, and it will accelerate your work and business. So again, Dr. Garg, thank you so much for taking the time to do this session for us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining, and we will hopefully see you all at the next virtual learning session. We posted that in the chat as well, and we will send out emails with a survey. So we'd love to get your feedback on things topics you would like to hear about, things we could do better, anything else that you would like to see in future topics. So thank you again to everyone for joining. Have a good day.